Welcome into room 442. James Sharman, Mikey Singh, fresh from Toronto FC training today. Yes, they're back in town with, of course, the kickoff to MLS 2023 this upcoming weekend. How was the buzz there, Mikey? With the media out in droves, the excitement could just palatable. You could just taste it.
Personally, yeah, I was very excited. You know, when you look at the season as a whole and preseason as a whole right now, it seems like the first real normalish preseason that we've had since COVID, right? I think that's an important kind of feeling and takeaway. Where the media out in droves, not quite today, but I think as we get closer to the weekend, we'll start to see that ramp up. But the players, you can sense it, positive vibes about this group. There's a lot of changes and there's a lot of excitement about this team.
Yeah, well, listen, it's a new look team in many regards, especially at the back, and it got even newer earlier, right? With another trade, Jesus Jiménez is out. In comes Brandon Servania.
Yeah, Brandon Servania, that's an important acquisition for this team. But first, let's start with Jesus Jiménez. And something that I talked about towards the beginning of this offseason and even, towards the end of last season was that TFC made the decision fairly early that they were going to be moving on for Jesus Jiménez if they were able to get the right deal. And I think they feel like they got the right deal. Jesus Jiménez, the way that he started with Toronto FC, as we see on the board here, his first 9 games played, he had the 7 goals, he had the assist. Everything was going smoothly for Jesus Jiménez, and TFC thought they had their future number 9. And what an unbelievable acquisition it was for the price. But then when you look at how the rest of his tenure played out for TFC, it leaves a sour note, or sour taste in the I guess, not just with Jimenez, but with the team, with the fan base, with everything overall. It didn't end really well. But that being said, Jesus Jiménez is a really quality player.
He could do really well, couldn't he? And he could score many goals in this league. It's proven that, I think. But, I mean, is it easy to target him for last season? Because it wasn't just him that faltered down the stretch run. Once the Italians came in, a little bump there, they all looked really, really good. But then the stretch run, it wasn't just Jesus Jiménez who faltered. It was the entire team.
Yeah, yes, that is, I think that's a fair way to look at it. The way that I'll remember, I guess, Jesus Jiménez at Toronto FC is that he is a really good player in the right system. And as when Singh and Bernardeschi came over, they're playing more on the wings, passing more to each other. Jesus Jiménez isn't the type of player that makes a lot of runs in behind consistently. He likes to drop deep and link up, whereas TFC with their number 9, I think with Insigne and Bernardeschi, they needed a guy who can run in behind more often. So while the second half of the year was, let's face it, just dreadful for Jimenez based on the way he started, there is still a player in there that I think can be untapped. And when you look at Dallas, I think they got a really good quality number 9 and at a even more further discounted rate because TFC also retains some of that salary budget charge too. So that's important to mention. So yeah, bittersweet for Jesus Jimenez. It sucks that it didn't work out here. There's still a quality player in there, but I think it was the right decision for TFC to move on.
In comes Servania, a young player, midfielder. Is he more of a depth piece, or do you see him getting some real good minutes this year?
I think he's going to get some really good minutes this year for Toronto FC. And I was speaking to Matt Hedges today at training, a teammate of Servania, and he had nothing but positive things to say about Servania. He said he's a guy who works his butt off. He said he's a good kid. And I asked him, I'm like, man, there's a narrative going around right now that maybe there's some untapped potential there, that maybe he didn't get the right opportunity with Dallas. And he said he 100% agrees with that. He said he started last year, they were playing really well, and then he's not really sure what happened with some of the rotations and whatnot. Now, Servania, he's a box-to-box type of midfielder, a guy who can strike from long distance, as we've seen in some of his highlights. I think he's a guy who checks off a lot of boxes of what TFC needed in the middle of the park. When you look at Osorio, Marc-Anthony Kaye, and Michael Bradley, they're a slower midfielder. It looks at times that the field is really big when those 3 are on. Now, Servania is a guy who covers a ton of ground. So he's a versatile midfielder, hard-working midfielder. I think TFC fans are really going to like this kid.
I mentioned it's been a busy off-season, right? At the back, in midfield, throughout the lineup. How much better is Toronto FC now than, I say, the end of last season? Because at the beginning of last season, very young team, rumors about big names coming in, they came in eventually, but where do we stand right now in comparison to last season?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And we also have to think about the fact that you now have Insigne here, and Bernardeschi here, and Marc-Anthony Kaye is in, and Richie Larea is back. Those guys are, honestly, it feels like new additions to the side now that they're starting at the beginning of preseason. So where do they stand right now? I think they're in a much better place heading into this season than last season, obviously, right? With the amount of additions. Now, when you look at defensively and the players that they brought in, and Matt Hedges and Sigurd Rosted and Raul Petretta, there's a good reason for TFC fans to be excited about this team. The big issue is going to be what's behind them. How's the depth on this squad? But look at the difference.
Well, let's go through this very quickly, one for one, right?
Yeah.
Sean Johnson, Alex Bono, of course, West Bergen. That's an upgrade, correct?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
All right. Matt Hedges comes in. Chris Mavinga's out. Rosted's in. Daniel Henry's out. Are we talking about an improved centre of the back four there?
Definitely improved center. I think TFC fans may miss, or TFC may miss the pace that Mavinga brought, but he was a little bit sporadic towards the end of his tenure, wasn't consistent enough. You'll get more consistency with these center backs.
I find this interesting. Petretta comes in at left back. Out goes Crescito, who was absolutely brilliant last year. We don't know that much about Petretta, but he's a good player. He's quality. Do you see a big change at left back there?
I do. I don't know if it's unfair to say it about Petretta, but I don't think he's quite the player that Mimo Crescito was. And that's not a knock on Petretta. That's just a compliment of just how good Crescito was. That's the one position that I see a clear downgrade from where they were last season.
And you see Servania comes in. Victor Vasquez, under the radar in some regards, returning to TFC. Just quality, oozing quality. You lose Jaden Nelson. You lose Noble Okello, younger players. Certainly that's an improvement in the middle of the park there. Diamande comes in. Again, not too well known, but a pedigree from Europe. Out goes Jimenez. Out goes Achara. Up top, is there still work to do?
There is still work to do, in my opinion. I think that the way the TFC are going to start this season, it's going to be both Diamande and Akinola. But there's a different type of profile now up top at striker than they had last season. And I think that's the biggest difference when looking at these two players. Quality-wise, you can make the argument that at this point in his career, Jesus Jimenez may have a bit more quality than Diamande, but it's a different type of striker that I think TFC believes and Bob Bradley believes will work better in his system, as obviously Diamande is a player that Bob Bradley knows really well. So question marks, in my opinion, still up top, but it's a new look at least.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be more fluidity at the top of the park, right? Which is needed, I think, with those intelligent players out wide. All right, so the kickoff this weekend against DC United. What do you? Obviously, we'll look at this game closer as the week progresses. But where are you thinking this TFC team will be at against DC and Wayne Rooney, of course?
Well, Matt Hedges came out today, and he has some really high expectations for this team. He said when they're playing the way that they can play, he doesn't believe there's a team out there that can stop him, essentially.
Love it. I love the confidence.
We'll see exactly how that works out.
Is he the new Drew Moore? Drew Moore was always great in the room after the match, talking to the media, didn't care, just spoke the way he thought. It seems that Matt Hedges could be the same kind of figure.
That comparison just keeps going round and round. Even Hedges talked about it when he was first brought over here, and he said he would be honored, essentially, to be able to say that he had the same type of career that Drew Moore did. So, yeah, there's a lot of striking similarities. Personality-wise, yeah, you can see there's some similarities there as well. Now, circling back to what he said, are they the best team in the MLS? No, but when they're clicking and they're starting 11s all in form, then they're one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and they'll be favored, I think, in a big way against DC United, even though they're going on the road.
Got to mention very quickly here, there's a new playoff format in MLS. It's being essentially announced today. The big news is that you get a play-in between 8 and 9 in the standings. Okay, that's fine. One game. But then you have a best of 3 first round. I tweeted this out that I need to take a little walk around the block, take a few breaths, because this sounds preposterous to me. I've gone for that walk and I've breathed and I think it's still preposterous. Is it just about getting more money, more games for the Apple deal? Because, I don't know, football can evolve and it can change, and in North America it's different to Europe, and that's fine. It works. But this, to me, seems going a step too far.
It's North American style, right? It's what you see in most North American sports. when it comes to series, I guess. Do I like it?
No.
I don't know.
Do you?
I don't know. I don't know,
You know.
Sharps. I don't know. I want to see how this plays out. I think it does make some of the games pointless. Like not pointless, but it has that less of a playoff like feel. That first game when you're going out there, usually you watch do or die games. I think this takes away a little bit of that allure. I like the wild card game, getting more teams in the mix. This first round playoff series, the jury's out. I'm not writing it off just yet. MLS has, they've tried different things. Some have stuck, some haven't. I'm not sure about this one yet.
We'll see. I'm all for trying out new things, I am. But that just seems taking it one step too far. It really does. And there could be a good big gap between games as well for some teams, right? It works in North America, the NBA, NHL, because you're playing 3 games in 5 nights, right? You can't do that, obviously, with soccer. So maybe it's just the old cantankerous me. I don't know. I'm going to find out. But MLS kicks off this weekend. Really excited about it. Stay tuned to Room 442. Mikey's in every day talking Toronto FC.